Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. We're continuing on in our 2026 NFL draft breakdowns, and this one is the AFC East. We have done the NFC East, the NFC West, and the AFC West. So go check those episodes out. Smash the like button before we get started. Leave us some comments as well. Like if these are your favorite teams, we want to hear what you think about these drafts and what we're saying about them. And if these aren't, give us your thoughts anyway. If you're just an NFL fan, all that good stuff, man. Like that's what we're trying to do here on this channel. So let's keep this thing rolling, Tyson, with the Buffalo Bills, who had an interesting draft, and they got quite a few players here. No first-round pick for them. They had two in the second round. One edge rusher from Clemson, TJ Parker. Second one was cornerback 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐿 from Ohio State. 3 fourth-round picks. The first one being offensive tackle Jude Bowery from Boston College. Second one, wide receiver Skylar Bell from UConn. And their fourth one was Caleb Larms, or linebacker from TCU. They had 2 fifth-round picks, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, safety from South Carolina, defensive tackle Zane Durant from Penn State, and then 3 seventh-round picks, the first being Terranio Pride Jr., cornerback from Missouri. Second one, punter Tommy Doman Jr. from Florida. And then their last one was offensive guard Armaj Reed Adams from Texas A&M. So a lot of names here for the Buffalo Bills. Did anything move you in their draft?
I don't think I was moved. Like, I'm not a TJ Parker guy. If you can get there, you can get there. I'm not. It's just hard when like you're so productive and then 2 years go by and you've not been as productive as everyone was hoping. TJ Parker kind of went through that at Clemson, but he could hit, and that could be awesome. The Bills are weird because they're both simultaneously really good, and they have a bunch of holes. And I think that you and I would both agree that bolstering that receiving core is a big deal. Obviously, we know they went out and got DJ Moore, but like 𝐾𝐨𝐶 would have been awesome, I think, for Buffalo, but it's not the way that it worked out. That was, to me, I was like, well, there's a ton of wide receivers in here. They're kind of in that second tier range, because we thought the big three of Tate, Tyson, and Lemon were just going to separate themselves as they did. And then Concepcion, Omar Cooper, those guys might be one of Buffalo's targets. But they walk out of here, Brad, with your boy, Skylar Bell, out of UConn.
In the fourth round, I think it's a good pick. I was shocked they didn't go after somebody like Denzel Boston a little bit earlier. I really am a fan of Denzel Boston. So for them not to do that and address the wide receiver room, I was like, dude, like, you have an offensive coach now. Like, what is happening in that building? Like, it was surprising to me. Zane Durant, the guy I watched, undersized defensive tackle from Penn State. We'll see. I mean, I do think there's pluses for him. He's not a 3-down guy, but I think he could be a value pick for them later in the draft. But TJ Parker's got a hit for him. This is a guy that a lot of people thought was a first-round pick. So, yes, there's value. What if he doesn't play well? What if he's not a good edge rusher? Then for the Bills, you traded and got capital for later round guys. You could have an impact first rounder as a wide receiver position. That's why I look at it. So I'm okay on the Bills draft. Like, yes, they added certain pieces, and this is a new regime, at least
punter
from my
pick, Brad.
Perspective. They drafted a punter, and we'll see if that hits for him. But overall, nothing really moved me in this draft either for the Bills. Miami Dolphins. They had a lot of picks. I mean, this entire division was getting busy. So first-round pick, they had 2 of them. Their first one was Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle from Alabama. The second one in the first round was cornerback Chris Johnson from San Diego State. Now, second-round pick was Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech. They had 3 third-round picks. First one was wide receiver Caleb Douglas from Texas Tech. The second one was tight end Will Kasmarek from Ohio State. And then wide receiver Chris Bell from Louisville. They had 2 fourth-round picks. First was linebacker Trey Moore from Texas. Second was linebacker Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh. They had 3 fifth-round picks. Safety Michael Taffy from Texas. Wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr. from Missouri. And then Seydou Traore, tight end from Mississippi State. Then they closed out in the 6th round with DJ Campbell, guard from Texas. And 7th-round pick was Max Wellen, edge from Iowa. A lot of names here, Tyson. We went into Caden Proctor. We went into Chris Johnson in our first round breakdown that we did in the entire league. A lot of names to choose from. What are you making of what the Miami Dolphins did?
Easy to just sit here and say they had a hole at like every position, and they addressed like almost every position. And so that's great. Jacob Rodriguez was like the best defensive player in college football a year ago. So you're fine with a pick like that. The only one where I'm just like scratching my head at the Dolphins draft board here is Caleb Douglas at 75. Seems nuts, dude. But if you flip, like if you say, well, they took Chris Bell at 75 and then they ended up with Caleb Douglas at 94, I think I would still say Douglas at 94 is a reach. But you're swinging big on Chris Bell, who Luther Burden-esque kind of like 2 years ago it was like Burden's going in the first round of this draft. He's going to be the best receiver, and then it comes and it's like, well, it's Ted McMillan. It's not really close. Burden goes in the second. Chris Bell was a guy at Louisville. This is the first round player through and through. Tears his ACL. There's some reports about like attitude and stuff like that. Who cares, dude? Like, it's a wide receiver who's going to come to a place where they need wide receivers.
Yep.
And so I like the Chris Bell pick a lot. I did not like the Douglas pick. I don't think Proctor's going to be very good. But again, they needed everything and they got one of everything.
It's not a surprise when you have a completely new regime coming in, new coach. Like, they're going to try to hit the reset button. And the difference between what you can do at football, basketball, baseball, you can get impact players immediately in these drafts. So this is a clear reset across the board, and they're doing it with the young players who fit their vision. I love the Jacob Rodriguez pick. Like, that's going to be a captain of your defense for the next 10 years. And then you go and add a guy who I really like, in Kyle Lewis, to pair with him. I think at linebacker, we'll see about Trey Moore, but Kyle Lewis is awesome. And to get him in round 4, I'm a big fan of him. You mentioned it with Chris Bell. I think he's an absolute stud. We'll see how his knee holds up, but I mean, getting him in round 3 for a team that clearly needs wide receivers is huge. I've given my thoughts on Caden Proctor. I don't think he's necessarily going to be very good. Another huge guy who's Tyson going to start on the interior. He's going to be a guard for the Dolphins before they potentially kick him out to tackle. We'll see. I actually think he might even be better at guard than tackle, to be completely honest. We'll see, though. But there's a lot of names to choose from here. We have really no clue if these guys are going to stick on this roster, going to stick in the NFL. But the Dolphins are trying to hit a reset button. I think they did a good job with this draft to do that.
Yep.
The New England Patriots, their first-round draft pick, offensive tackle, Caleb Lemieux from Utah. Second-round pick, 𝐬𝐫𝐿, the edge rusher from Illinois. Third-round pick, Eli Raridon, tight end from Notre Dame. Fifth-round pick was Karan Prempney, cornerback, from Wake Forest. 2 sixth-round picks, Demetrius Crownover, offensive tackle from Texas A&M. Second sixth-round pick was Nnamdi Obizor, linebacker from TCU, and they had 3 seventh-round picks. Baron Morton, the quarterback from Texas Tech, running back Jam Miller from Alabama, and then Quintavious Hutchins, edge rusher from Boston College. Now, the day 3 picks, Tyson, they didn't have Mike Vrabel, so I don't know if he fits the vision. I think he had some stuff going on. I'm not quite sure. I'm saying that obviously in jest if you're an NFL fan.
What happened?
Because you know what's going on. You know what's happened there. What'd you make of in all seriousness, of what the New England Patriots did? Because I think there's a bunch of different ways that we can kind of look at this.
This was a slap across my face. It was a slap across the face of LSU Tiger faithful everywhere. No, I'm kidding. This was maybe a bit of an indictment on how they see Will Campbell, because they go out and they take a left tackle in the first round, Caleb Lemieux, who isn't going to have the same concerns that Will Campbell did. And then you take another left tackle later in the draft with Crownover. So maybe Will Campbell goes in and plays guard, but they needed 2 tackles. Like, it's fun to say Will Campbell got killed in the playoffs, but the other side of the line was eaten alive in that Super Bowl just the same. And so, yeah, they needed help. Brad, like, Jim Miller's not making the team, I don't think. Baron Morton's not somebody that I think is going to stick around the NFL. And so the offensive line is the reason that the Super Bowl wasn't competitive, and that's the number 1 need that they addressed.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking in the trenches, how do we get better? How do we win? Because it wasn't even competitive against the Seahawks. Why? Sam Darnold was able to pick us apart, and our offensive line got destroyed. First 2 picks, Caleb Lemieux, 𝐬𝐫𝐿. I mean, edge rusher, offensive tackle. It'll be interesting to see, Tyson, because it feels like statements from the Patriots, they're kind of digging their heels in that Will Campbell is the left tackle here. So does that mean Lemieux is going to start on the interior, another tackle prospect who's going to kick inside to start and then move outside later? We'll see. It feels like that's kind of the trend that we're seeing from the NFL as they increase the size in the interior. We'll see what actually happens here. I think Will Campbell is more of a candidate to move inside than the Patriots are letting on, but that's something for a later date. everything else is just kind of meh to me. Like this entire draft is meh to me, to be completely honest with you. Like this did not impress me at all. And it's no offense to these kids, or no offense to the Patriots. This is not a good draft. So there's going to be teams who we're looking at and like, whatever. And that's what it was for me here.
Elliot Wolf liked him because he traded up in both the first and the second round.
Let's close with the New York Jets. And this is a draft that I actually really liked. And it's hard not to. They're the only team with 3 first-round picks. They landed David Bailey, number 2 overall. 𝐾𝐿, the tight end from Oregon, at 16 overall. And they traded back in to get Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver from Indiana, to close out their day 1 draft picks. Second-round pick was 𝐷_ANGELO, the cornerback from Indiana. Round 4, they had 2 picks there. Darrell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle from Florida State, and 𝐃𝐨𝐽, quarterback from Clemson in round 4. Then round 6 was Nez Cooper, the guard from Miami. And then round 7 was VJ Payne, the safety from Kansas State. Tyson, it's all about round 1. That's what it is for the Jets. If it hits, it hits, and they're looking good. If not, I mean, we're looking at another regime change probably.
And I do think that 𝐷_ANGELO has a shot here to be a really good player. I think I don't remember who it was on draft coverage, maybe Louis Riddick, but he's like, if this dude was 5'11" instead of 5'9", he would have came off the board in the top 10. And that's probably true. Like Pons was a multi-year standout on a phenomenal defense and just won a national championship. He's really good. And so they took him at 50. I like that. But as you said, it's the top 3. David Bailey is the most New York Jets defensive line pick that they could have made because we think he's going to be awesome. But Brady can't really play the run. And they've just they have Will McDonald. They've done this a handful of times. I think he's going to be really good. And you think David Bailey is going to be really good. You're more of a 𝐾𝐿 guy than I am, but they just took Mason Taylor last year in the second round. So that was interesting. And then Omar Cooper Jr., we joked about Sonny Styles flying up the board after the combine. Omar Cooper Jr. maybe had the most meteoric rise of anybody throughout this whole draft process.
Yeah, and I think if it helps when you're watching the tape and you're like, dude, this guy is freaking getting open constantly for Mendoza, and Mendoza's finding them. So they both pop on film. But yeah, you're right. He did rise up the board. And then I think if he was taller, where does he go? You know what I mean?
That's
if we're talking about Carnell Tate going 4 overall, which we'll get into later, I mean, man, where does he end up if he's a little bit taller? Sadiq, I am much higher on him. I think he's going to be really good. Yes, there's concerns about his productivity in college with pass catching and the ball in his hand, all that. He's also a really good blocker. And so you add that to the mix, I think that makes his floor higher, and he's going to be able to stick and potentially develop a little bit more. The rest of it, yeah, Pons. I mean, the top 4 picks I really like. Beyond that, like 𝐾𝐿, all right, you're just adding the quarterback just in case.
Does he get on the field?
I don't think so.
If Tyson. Geno sucks bad enough, does 𝐾𝐿 get meaningful snaps?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the Jets are going to draft a quarterback next year anyway. So, we'll just kind of go with the quarterback factory here in New York. But I thought that was a funny pick.
Oh, it was awesome. It's so much fun to think back to August, and it was like Nussmeier, 𝐾𝐿, Beck. That's what we got. These are the guys that are, Drew Aller. That's 4 of the top 5. And it was Mendoza in the end, and it wasn't close. Like the rest of the guys, Ty Simpson goes 13, but the gulf between what we thought these guys were going to be and where they ended up, it just goes to show that, before the season's played, there's already new mocks for 2027 that have come out. It's like, yeah, I know Jeremiah Smith's going to be really good, but maybe let's pump the brakes on 8 quarterbacks in the first round.
Oh, I know. You got to love it. All right, final thoughts here, Tyson, on this division. I like what the Jets did. We went in depth in these picks in our first round draft analysis that we discussed and dove into. But I think all 3 of these players are good, and they have high floors, and that's what the Jets need. And so I'm a fan of that. The Patriots didn't move me at all. Like nothing that they did, I'd look at and be like, yeah, I like that. Complete reset for the Dolphins. There's players in there that I think are going to be potential culture changers for them. Jacob Rodriguez being the headliner, at least when I'm looking at things. And then the Bills, another questionable draft that I had for them. And that's just my thoughts on this division. And we'll see. I mean, a lot of these teams are going in different directions and different phases, which I think is kind of funny compared when you look at different divisions, Tyson, where there's some people who need to catch each other. There's some people who all have the same goals, and it's like these guys are all in different parts of their life.
Buffalo continues to kind of confound me a little bit. I don't think they got any closer to winning a Super Bowl within this window, and that's a problem. That's really my overall takeaway. The Dolphins are fine. You nailed it with the Jets, and then the Pats was boring, which normally leads to a pretty good draft class. But I just don't think the Bills got closer to winning it all.
All right, like, subscribe, and share on the way out. Leave a comment. Again, if this is one of your favorite teams, we want to hear from you. If this is not, but you still should leave a comment. We want to hear what your thoughts are on this entire process. Smash the subscribe button because we do have a ton of content coming your way. And share it with a friend, and enemy, your guys' group chats, all that good stuff. And we'll continue rolling with this, with these breakdowns from the 2026 NFL draft. And we'll talk to you when we talk to you. Till then, guys, peace.